YouTube offers one of the best return on investment opportunities available today. And I say this as someone who is really interested in saving money and investing, particularly from a perspective of achieving financial freedom and potentially early retirement. Now, usually when you think about saving or investing money, you talk about putting money into stocks, bonds, maybe just holding cash in a savings account, or if you're even riskier, maybe considering investments into cryptocurrency. Now, right here, I'm looking at a chart of annualized investment returns across asset classes over the last decade. And you can see even in the best case scenario, you're earning about a 12% return on an annual basis. Now, this is fine for the long-term investor who wants to build their wealth slowly and safely over time. But if you choose one of these asset classes to invest in as one of the main ways of growing your wealth, it's going to be a very slow process. Conversely, building a YouTube business is going to create much more than 5 or 10% annualized returns. In fact, it's not uncommon to see a 5x or 10x or even greater multiples on your input when it comes to a YouTube channel business and on a much shorter time frame. Now, if you are starting a YouTube channel from scratch, it could take a year or two to see a full return on your investment. But once you get there, every additional dollar you put in is going to be multiplied significantly. Now, this goes for pretty much any business, as they are a great way to leverage your money and create even more wealth from it. But YouTube is a particular sweet spot, in my opinion, because you have the opportunity to create automated YouTube channels, which is a business that runs itself. In this way, not only can you see a massive return on your investment, but you can do it almost entirely passively, just like you would if you were investing in stocks or bonds or other asset classes. So let me show you a great example that illustrates this. A couple years ago, I was browsing YouTube, just looking for trends, and I noticed that then and now videos were really popular. They would just take the cast of a well-known TV show or movie, put them side by side in the thumbnail, and basically the whole video was just how the cast members had changed from the time of filming the TV show or movie to today. But I noticed that these videos were very poorly put together and that I knew I could make them a lot better and then teach our editing team to put them together in the same way. So I did a first test with the Brady Bunch, which I knew was a very popular show that our audience already liked. The video got over 1 million views in the very first week and has continued generating views since then. And now with over 4 million views, it's got the revenue to match, earning almost $35,000 since the launch about 2 years ago. Now, the crazy thing is, I put this video together for free. It took me a couple hours one day to look into other videos, see what they were doing, and then improve on that formula and make it into our own style. Then I taught one of the editors on our team how to replicate this formula, and then we repeated it with other shows and movies that were popular with our audience. So although the Brady Bunch one was the most popular, we had dozens of other videos crack 100,000, even 1 million views, and probably generated over $100,000 in revenue just from this one video idea. And the crazy part is my input was only a couple hours, and then paying our editor to make the rest of the videos, which is usually like $60 to $80 for a video, because they were very simple formats and didn't even require scripting or voiceovers. And this is the appeal of a YouTube automation business. You can find these video ideas and formats that can repeatedly multiply your money and generate huge revenue over their lifetime. Of course, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to have a channel that is, one, eligible for monetization, and then you have to figure out what your audience likes so that you can tap into those ideas and create successful videos. But this is why I encourage people to look at YouTube automation like an investment, just like they would stocks or a retirement account or whatever it may be, because it is something you have to put money into and be prepared to invest into it for a period of time before seeing that return. Luckily, there are 2 ways to go about this, whether you want to invest your time or money up front. And of course, you could always do a combination of both. So for the first example, let's say you don't have a lot of money to work with and you want to start off a YouTube automation business at the lowest cost possible. In fact, I would encourage this to anybody who's new to YouTube automation because it lets you learn the ropes of each step of the production process before you outsource it to other people. And this chart here is just going to be your return on investment over time. So if you're starting on your own and you're trying to spend as little money as possible, you're going to do everything yourself. You're going to do the scripting, voiceovers, editing, thumbnails, all of that with the goal of not spending any money until you start making money. So for this, there's no financial investment here. You're just going to chug along and make your content for a couple months until you finally reach monetization. And then at this point, you're going to start seeing some money coming in. You're finally getting that return on your investment. And you get to decide, do you outsource all of it immediately? Or maybe do you go in phases? Do you first outsource the voiceover, or do you first outsource the editing? I would personally choose the editing because that's probably the most time-consuming part. But then you start tapping into the earnings and you're able to reinvest those earnings back into your channel so that you can continue growing it, but while outsourcing some of the work and eventually taking baby steps towards having the whole process fully automated. So you might have a little bit of a bumpy start here on your return, but eventually you'll get the whole process ironed out. you'll be earning enough money on your videos that you can hire a full team to handle whole production. And at this point, when you've got everything smoothed out, the revenue really takes care of itself. Because when you reach this point, you've got two things going on. First, you have a backlog of content that should be continuing to generate revenue. And that should be a good baseline earnings for you to continue growing your channel. That can be kind of the baseline funding you use to continue creating content every week or every month or whatever it may be. But then your new content continues to earn revenue and builds up that foundational earning source with every new video that you release. And that's when you get this exponential growth, is when your backlog is growing, which is continuing to grow your revenue, and your new videos are being successful too, and you start to experiment with things and really tap into what your audience likes. And this is where you start to see that crazy return on investment. And the cool part for this one is, of course, you spent $0 at the beginning. You just invested your own time and energy into the projects until you started earning that first little bit of revenue to get monetized, and then use that to fund the rest of your YouTube automation business. Now, of course, option number two is you have some money to spend and you would rather outsource the work at the beginning and pay for that and make the investment early on, instead of spending the time to do it yourself, which is a much more efficient way to do it if you have some experience and you're ready to just get things going and get things moving. But that does come with the kind of discomfort that you are spending money at the beginning before you're making money. So instead of the other one starting flat, you're going to be investing money for a few weeks, few months, until you get monetized, at least on a brand new channel. And of course, this is the hardest part, those first few months where the expenses are just adding up and you've invested in content, but you've yet to see that first dollar back. But of course, then once you do and you get monetized, then everything turns around. You start having income coming into the channel, so you have to invest less and maybe your expenses level off. And then you reach that tipping point again where the channel generates enough earnings to pay for the systems you set up and the videos you want to create. And then same as the last example, you have a backlog of content generating revenue. Your new videos are generating revenue, and hopefully they're generating more revenue than they cost to make. So as long as you're reaching that return on each individual video, then you're going to reach this tipping point and see that exponential income growth. And that's going to be the 5x, the 10x return on your money that, again, you just won't see investing in something like stocks or bonds or traditional asset classes. But again, this just doesn't happen overnight, so you have to be okay with this initial period of investing money into this process or investing time into this process. And then once you reach that tipping point, which could be maybe a year down the road, if it takes you a little bit to get monetized and really get into a rhythm, figure out your production processes, but then that's when you can achieve those huge returns that you just won't see anywhere else. So this is a little exercise I run in my head every now and then when I'm wondering where should I put my money. I have to remind myself that this YouTube automation business really is an investment. You know, you could put your money into stocks or bonds or maybe cryptocurrency and hope for a 10 or 20% return, or you could invest it in a YouTube automation business and know that eventually you're going to see that return, but the investment asset is just a little different. You're investing in content, you're investing into the YouTube platform with your content, instead of investing into other assets. But the point is, a successful YouTube automation channel will multiply your money much more than these other asset classes, and that's why I think it's worth investing into, and specifically viewing it as an investment so you can get through these rough periods at the beginning where you might be losing money or losing time and not seeing a return. So I hope that helps some of you who might be hesitating with starting a YouTube automation channel for fear of losing time or money, because eventually, you know, if you follow the steps, it does pay off, and it does pay off big time. For more on our YouTube automation processes and strategies, check out our playlist on the screen now, or leave me a comment if you have any questions. We'll see you guys next time.